amended one. I did take it out of the box.
Oh, we haven't amended one?
I'll just share it with you.
Yes,
I'll
there
just call the meeting to order. Note that Alderman Duane, Alderman Sladek, and Alderman Zimmer are present, and Andy Nicholson is on his way.
And, excuse me, Chair, if I may, we did add item number 6 at your request, and I was
Yes.
just wondering if we can move it to right after the report of the purchasing manager, please.
Sure.
Thank you.
So moved.
Okay, we'll amend, with the approval of the committee, we'll amend item number 6 to follow number 3, or number 4, excuse me.
Thank you.
All those in favor of that, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. We have approval of the
So
minutes
moved.
of the Finance Committee meeting of August 4th. And moved by Alderman Duane, seconded by Alderman Sladek to approve the minutes. Any corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Item number 4, report of the purchasing manager, the request, 4A is request approval to purchase a new Type 3 ambulance from Jefferson Fire at $187,000.
Move to approve.
Second.
Is there a man here?
Actually, the Fire Chief Litton is here to speak to this item. It would be a sole source. There's documentation in your packet as to why we would be looking to sole source this ambulance.
Would you go over that? Because it's...
In 2013, we purchased, we actually bid out the same exact ambulance, which was delivered to us in 2014. And our experience since we put those into service has been all the things that are listed in the memo, which were a more comfortable ride for our patients. We've had little, if any, maintenance issues with them for now, in the last year and a half that we've had them in service. Zero corrosion or paint problems with them. I want to make sure I don't miss anything in here.
Have we had problems with those things in the past?
We've had problems with those things from the other manufacturers that we've purchased ambulances from. Lifeline was a new company that won the bid. They've got a really good reputation. We've had outstanding customer service from them. Whenever we've had any kind of a little thing with them, they addressed them immediately.
When you say they won the bid, what do you mean?
This was bid in 20 through the city.
From previous.
The previous, so they won the bid in 2013, which was the ambulances were delivered to us in 2014. One of the ideals behind all of this is we're trying to standardize all of our equipment for 2 reasons. Number one, it helps our mechanics in our shop be able to work on the same equipment over and over again and to keep parts that routinely need to be replaced without having to stock a ton of different things. Second thing is, and more importantly, is we're trying to keep them standard so that our personnel, when they are operating on these vehicles, know where everything's at, regardless of which station they're assigned to. In our daily assignment of personnel, they may move from station to station a couple times during the day just because of the needs of the department, things that are going on, training, special events, and so forth and so on. So one of the things we're trying to do is, through standardization of our equipment, is so they know where everything's at without having to learn 5, 6, 7 different vehicles as they move around, so they don't have to be chasing things when we're in an emergency situation. So that's one of the ideas behind trying to standardize our equipment. So those are the reasons that we're looking to stay with the same manufacturer. We've had outstanding service from them. They put out a quality product. Our people are very happy with them in the field. Patients have actually commented on the fact that it's a superior or a nice ride. Some of these can rally your brains out if you've ever had the unfortunate need to ride in the back of the ambulance. So those are the reasons that we're looking to single source it and essentially to jump on the bid that was done in Houston, Texas. Basically, a public consortium there recently bid this out at that price.
What did we pay for the last one?
They were in the area of 170,000.
So this is 17,000 more in 1-2 years?
So would have been about 2.5 years. The difference being, when we did the last bid, we actually bid it out for 3 ambulances. 2 of our own, 1 one with the city of De Pere. So we got a discount. We got a pretty substantial discount because we were taking 3 ambulances at the same time. Now, we've had a cost of, of course, the cost of manufacturing has gone up in the 2-year period, and we're not getting a discount because we're not ordering multiple units.
How did the cost of manufacturing go up?
Well, their cost of putting out a product has gone up. In the last 2 years, they've had increases in salaries and cost of manufacturing, so I don't know exactly what that number is, but obviously that's reflected in their bid.
That's what
in
they
their price
told you?
too. Yeah.
They just, but it was a sole source, so wasn't this something you could negotiate?
We did negotiate. We negotiated as hard as we could. And actually, the number we got originally was higher than this $187,000. And then they brought it to our attention that Galveston Consortium, Galveston, Texas, Houston, Galveston area consortium had bid it out in the region there. It's a publicly bid program there, and that this was the best price that they've offered anywhere, quote, in the country.
Except to us 2 years ago.
Well, I've already detailed the package for that.
You said their cost of operation was more. That's what they told you.
I said that we bid 3 vehicles at that time.
Got a
So that was, we got a discount on it.
You had a $17,000 discount.
I'm not going to answer that question again because I've already answered it. We bid 3 vehicles. That was the price that they came in. I don't think anything as far as cost of services or anything else has gone down in the last few years. That's what they told us. I have to take them at their word. We tried negotiating the price down lower. They were not willing to go any lower than the price that they publicly bid in the Texas area. That's all I can.
The only reason I'm quizzing you so thoroughly here, and maybe a little stubbornly, is because I never feel good about sole sourcing anything. I always feel there should be some competition if if that competition comes up, and there are occasions where we don't take the low bidder for a reason, and we can state those reasons and do them, but I always feel that you have to put people to the test. And so I just said this same to the rest of the committee, I just feel uncomfortable with this process, period. It may be a good deal compared to what somebody else paid somewhere else, but that's not the way I like to do business. It's just contrary to all my 39 years of instincts in government.
This is not an issue that we're going to fall on our sword over. I mean, this is, if you want us to send it out to bid, we'll certainly do that. I will tell you that somebody will probably come back and underbid them by a couple $1,000s, and my recommendation coming back is going to be this Lifeline ambulance has proven itself over the last year and a half to be a superior product. And, from a maintenance standpoint, from a durability standpoint, from a patient ride standpoint, from our crew's userability on the thing. And so that's essentially what would happen. But I don't have any problem with bidding it out. I really don't. It's going to delay delivery only by, I'll say, 6 weeks.
I would probably say it's going to be longer than that once you issue the RFP. If I may offer up, I wasn't aware of the fact that Galveston or Houston had done a competitive bid, but perhaps if we could get those bids and share them with the committee and compare to where we were at the last time we went out to put your mind at ease. I hear what you're saying as far as competitive bid, so I don't know if that's an option.
I think we should redact the price from the records here and put it out to bid, is my opinion. I mean, I don't want to give somebody else an unfair advantage. I will be Mr. Slide.
Dawn, I don't know if you'll be able to speak to this without Rick being here, but on Rick's report it says, market research indicates that Lifeline ambulance is competitively priced within 1 or 2% of competing manufacturers. Do you have any more information about it, or how is that developed?
I do not have any additional information, unfortunately. The meeting moved to Wednesday versus Tuesday. Rick actually had a scheduled conference that he's at, so he is not able to, but I certainly can have him reach out to you or via email about what his research proved out.
Yeah, I share Alderman Zimma's view that I don't like doing business on sole source. I think there are times to do it. And this may be a time to do it. I mean, I understand it's behind the recommendation. I understand that this price was achieved, through a cooperative, public, competitive process down in Houston, and that it's being represented, that process is well-respected nationally. And then there's some other research that says that Lifeline comes in within 1% or 2% of others anyway. So this may be a situation where I could support going ahead with a sole source situation, because you have articulated the advantages of this product versus others. One caution that I want to put out there is, if we were to do this, I would not want it to build an expectation that we are committed solely in the name of standardization to paying more on an ongoing basis. So, I would expect that we'd have to bid these out again, maybe in the next round or something like that. But if there was support on the committee to go ahead and process this as a sole source, I think given the information we've been provided here and the experience you've had with the product, I could support that.
Mr. Duane?
Yeah, thank you. I just want to warn, this is all right that if we send this back, but I am not going to approve a lesser product to save $2,000 if that's the case. I want to make that very clear, how I feel about it. I understand we should be going RFPs and stuff like that, but when it comes to this type of equipment, I want to see the best out there. And if it's a fact where we can save $17,000, which I don't think is going to happen, for something that we're clearly not going to be satisfied with, then we got to look at what we're getting, and that's what I'm trying to say. If Chief Litton is okay with pulling up for a few weeks, I have no problem doing that, but I just want to go on record. I can't take a product that isn't going to fit their system. But, so, I just want that noted.
Well, Mr. Duane, you just can't prejudge something before.
Right, that's why I said I'd like to see
You get a chance
it.
to look at something.
Right.
But, and again, there's people that like certain things, and they give a recommendation because they like it, and they tell you the reasons why, but it doesn't necessarily mean that other products.
And that's
can't
why I'm
do the
willing to
job.
see it.
And I'm just going to go back a little more in history, because when my first few years in office, we had a very large scandal take place. There was a bid rigging scandal in the city of Green Bay. And it made us take steps to try to prevent, beyond any doubt of anyone, to make sure that we do things in a legal manner. Many times, heavy equipment was being purchased through certain people because, they just had the only equipment, blah, blah, blah. And of course, the superintendent was wined and dined until hell wouldn't have any more, and on it went, on it went, on it went, on it went. It was a big scandal. And at that time, we went so far as to set up a specification subcommittee that was made up of 2 aldermen, 2 or 3 people from the various departments, I think somebody from fire, somebody from public works, somebody from the purchasing department, and we also had a couple people from the public. A rather substantial committee. It was 6 or 7 people. And because we were always trying to figure out, are we rigging things through how we specify things? And of course, the job of the specification subcommittee at that time, we're basically saying, how do we make the spec general enough that we're attracting the maximum number of people to provide goods or services to the city of Green Bay, at the same time not compromise what our real needs are. And that was always our job, and that's what we took very seriously. I served on that committee, and that's how it went. Well, as time went on, I forget which mayor it was, but they got rid of the specification subcommittee. We're just gonna turn it all over to a purchasing person, and I think we took steps backward in those days. Now, I've been on committees, and Mr. Dwayne, Mr. Sladek, and people through the years, and I think we've always tried to have bidding take place as often as possible. Sole sourcing that just points a direction. Other people, well, we might as well get what we want too. And of course, everybody's ideas of what's good is different. And I feel you have to open the doors. If you want to keep government open, you need to open up, and you need the specs. If people don't meet your specs, you don't have to take their product. They have to meet the specs. But I've always felt, set the specs out, and we used to qualify our bidders too. Any Joe Blow didn't get to just go bid because they thought, oh, the doors are wide open and we can throw an inferior product in here and make a big buck for ourselves. We also qualified, through our staff, we qualified the people who were doing the bidding. And once they were qualified, once we were satisfied that they had the ability to do, and they could have their proofs of responsibility, which also included a bond in many cases, that then we let them bid, and whoever was low bidder basically was given the contract. And I think that was a pretty darn good system we had in place at that time. And again, this is no casting any dispersions on the chief or anybody else. I just feel a process has to be kept in place, and that's why I'm at least going to entertain a motion that we put this out to bid, if we can redact so it's not part of the official record, what the bid was, what the I guess not so negotiated bid, but what the offer was given to us that at least our staff was satisfied with. And they've given the reasons for it, but I still feel uncomfortable. I feel that these things shouldn't be bid. But I'm here to entertain the pleasure of the committee.
Well, I made a motion to approve, but you, I think, wanted to make another motion to do.
Well, your original was, and
Yeah, but
if I'm the minority here, well, that's okay. I'll just bring it up on the floor.
Yeah, but I thought you made another motion after me.
Well, I'm the chairman, so I can entertain a motion from someone. I usually don't make motions.
Well,
I would entertain
out of
that
respect of
that we
Alderman,
go in-
yourself and Alderman Slotnick, your reference, I'll pull my motion.
Well, only if you want to.
I will.
It's up to you.
Chief Litton knows, he said he has no problem with it. How do you want the motion read? I mean, make a motion to RFP
Refer back to the purchasing department.
right, Type 3 ambulance from Jefferson Fire, well, not from Jefferson, because might not be them.
And to redact the price so that if they bid, it's a fair bid.
Yeah.
Okay, second.
Yeah.
And I don't have any problem with that, I'm not arguing it. Point, I just want you to understand, we just didn't, we were negotiating a price closer to what we paid the last time, we're trying to. They told us that price was no longer possible, and they said, this is the publicly bid document price that was bid, and it's the best price that we've given to anybody in the country at this time. So I want that to be on the record.
How many
So
other
that would be
companies are
minutes.
there that
His
make
statement.
ambulances?
7 or 8.
There's 7 or 8 other companies, and this is absolutely the best one, and that we want the best one.
Our experience has been, we've had the several that we purchased before that were from several other companies, so we have 7. And they were less than satisfactory from an experience standpoint. And, when we're doing our research, we reach out to other departments.
You
and
feel we
say
didn't
which-
spec it correctly?
We spec'd it in 2013 the way we needed it, and we publicly bid it in 13, because we were having bad experiences with the 2 other manufacturers that we had had the 2 times before that. So that's why we rebid it in 2013. These guys were the second to lowest bidder. The lowest bidder was one of the companies that we had all the problems with, so we eliminated them. So we did do that process in 13, And as we do our research on these things and we look at the companies, we understand who the players are in the market, obviously, just like anybody else would. It's our business to do that. When we are looking at other manufacturers, we reach out to other fire departments and say, what has your experience been? And can you provide us some documentation as to maintenance costs, as to cost to run a vehicle every single day? How much does it cost per call? How much does it cost in maintenance? How much is the fuel consumption? We look at all those things. We run a spreadsheet on all that. Then, if our peers in Wisconsin say we've really had nothing but problems with this manufacturer, I would be a fool to come before this committee and say, let's take that manufacturer. So that's the process that we have run through leading up to this point. We bid it in 13. These guys were the second to lowest bidder. And this price here is a national price that they're indicating is the best price on the market for them today. That's all I can add to the discussion.
Still want the RFP?
Well, I do. I want
Okay, we
to,
motioned
I
and
also want
seconded
to
already.
protect, I want to also protect all of our employees.
Yeah, I just
You
made a
understand,
motion.
whenever a big item like this comes up, then I want everything beyond reproach. I don't want anybody making accusations that may be false or true or untrue. But I'm just telling you from my experience, this is from 35 years ago, though. It's not recent, but I'm telling you, recommendations were being made and equipment was being bought from only a certain industry, and the person making that recommendation was from a department, and he became under great suspicion, and things were moved aside. I don't know how to express it, other than that it casts aspersions upon our staff. And when you have a bid process, that takes all that away. So there can never be any question about the integrity of our staff. And again, I want to make it clear, I'm not casting any dispersions. I'm saying when sole sourcing comes in, that's the first problem that people can look at. Why is it being sole sourced? And it means that somebody's puts an eyeglass on, maybe nobody cares. And maybe things will just go just the way it is. But I feel more comfortable. I just won't vote for something that's sole sourced. I just don't believe in them, period. If we make decisions after we see a bid for a particular reason, but, if there's 8 companies out there that make these, and I know we've got one that we maybe like, but at least the staff seems to like it. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying there's a $17,000 increase, and you did give the reasons for it, but there's been no bidding. That's kind of contrary to all my instincts of what I've stood for all the while I've been in office. So I would prefer to have it.
We made a
sent out
motion.
for RFP.
Yeah.
Oh, it's been made and seconded?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm going on here like a maniac for nothing. Anyway, any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
Number 6.
You're gonna do number 6 next week. That's our
Yeah.
amended one.
The amended one. It's a request by myself on behalf of Scott Van Edestein that the city consider purchasing Toughbook laptops for all squads in the police department. And the reason I did put this on a late basis here was that I think it's important for us to look at it and at least be prepared to have some information if we want to, possibly going to consider this at budget time or part of our bond issue, whatever, so.
Mike Ronick is here to speak to actually this is a Panasonic, specifically a Panasonic Toughbook who makes the Toughbook. Mike is here to speak to these units just recently were replaced in all of the squad cars, and the next replacement cycle won't be until 2017 budget cycle. So we've just replaced them with Data 911 terminal in all of their squad cars. And the Toughbook is a piece of equipment that we have looked at. We have, Mike can speak to this, we've consistently had problems with the Panasonic Toughbooks, but we certainly do vet that
So
one
we've
as well.
had the Toughbooks before?
Yes.
Okay. Well, out of courtesy to Mr. Van Edestein, I would ask that Mr. Ronick, do you want to come up first? And I guess just give us your experience, and then we'll open the floor to Mr. Beck.
Well, throughout the years, we've always had tough books. The police department uses them, DPW uses them, and the fire department. But we did find out there was a large maintenance problem with them after 2 or
So
3
when they-
years.
When they fell, they actually were
Well,
tough?
no, they just, they're hardened into a car and with a mount. They aren't really falling. What they are, they're getting a lot of vibration. So that's why it's a tough book. But we found other better products than that at a cheaper price. So that's why we moved with a lot less maintenance, and that's why we moved away from that product.
Which product is that?
We
I
with
think
the
Don had said
data
something.
911s, and now, we purchased those, and now we're actually going to GTACs, which are 2/3 the cost of a Panasonic Toughbook. So, and that's what we're moving to right now. We have
Can they
tested
be
these.
taken out of a car?
Pardon me?
Can they be taken out of a car, or are they fixed permanently?
No, they can, there's a mount, and they can be taken out of a car and switched to another car if
But they
need
can be
be.
taken out easily?
Yep, yeah, sure.
In other words, if an officer, let's say, got on a mental health case or something where he was tied up somewhere for 2, 3, 4 hours and couldn't leave, is this something that he could take out and do some of his,
Well, we basically just do,
Backlogging.
he could, but generally, he just does all his work in his vehicle anyways, police officer does. It's basically his desktop,
His
is in
office.
his office, is in, you'll see him all over the city, because they have a data card connected to a cell phone network that they reach back to the city servers and enter all their data out in the field as
are
much
there
as
times when
possible.
they have to be out of the car? When
The,
this might be useful?
the desk, the tough book, or not tough book, but no, we always keep them in the car. Mhm. Yeah, because that's where they're used.
And I
Well,
would think
Even
that
during
we-
shift work.
we may also have security issues, and perhaps the chief can speak to that. I mean, Department of Justice has done an audit, and the double security that we have to have on some of these units, I don't think we would want them again, but Chief Lewis can speak to this.
Yes, please come forward, sir.
Yeah, there is an issue with because those computers have access into federal databases, they have to either be secured, or you have to have this double backup system, and it's a very technical system that I don't understand, but it costs you a lot more money if you want to take them in and take them like into a hospital. We used to take them into like a hospital and do work when you were set there for hours with a.
Okay, like what I was talking about.
Yes, but now, because of the new rules under CJIS, under the Criminal Justice Information System through the feds, the cost of doing that is really prohibitive. So most agencies now are locking them into the unit because that then authenticates who's using the unit, I guess is the best way to describe it. Well, if you take it out, it loses that authentication, and the feds don't allow you to do it without this other system, and most agencies aren't doing that now.
So there's if you have this tough book system, I'm just trying to understand it correctly.
There might be a way to do it, as long
You're
as you
saying
do
there's
the.
a cost to,
If you want to take them out of the vehicles, you could put one of those in the vehicle, permanently put it in like the data ones and the others, and they would be fine. And I would think in 2017, the way technology changes, you'll probably look at all of these again before you make a major change.
Right.
So really, I couldn't tell you right now whether the Panasonic is the best unit in 2017, or if data would be. This stuff changes so fast, so 2 years from now, when you're ready to replace them, I would think you'd look at all of them again. And it may well be the tough book by then, because it may be a whole different product than what you're talking about right now.
Right.
did you say there's an additional cost, or Mike was referring to?
Only if you want to yank them out and use them like a portable laptop, because of CJIS issues. But you could put you could put any unit permanently in the vehicle. That authenticates the user of the vehicle. And so it could be tough book, or it could be data, it could be either one.
Well, are the ones that we're using now, do they have the toughness, the ability to not break down?
Yes. We'll buy one or two and test them for a year or so before we approve a full purchase. And that's what we're currently doing with these GTAC units. We have 4 in CSI cars, we have 4 in different fire vehicles, and 2 in police vehicles.
Would it be worthwhile to test 2 of them at the same time? To see which one has better results?
Mhm. Yeah.
I mean,
We have a lot of experience with the Panasonic Tough Books, as even.
Well, we've had the Panasonic Tough Books?
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
we had them for years, yeah, and we still do have them, but
And they're problematic, you're saying?
they're problematic.
What sort of problems are you having with it?
Their parts don't last as long. They don't stay connected to the network as well as the other units, and just daily maintenance problems. You know, I think most of the Panasonic Tough Books are in the fire department right now, and if Chief Litton was still here, I think he would attest to the maintenance headaches that we have. And I hate to disparage Panasonic so much, but
Well,
Yeah.
you know, I think Mr. Van Edstein, when he approached me, he was looking at some way to help the department if he could. And I got some copies made in your office, Dawn. The staff seemed to, didn't know if I should be charged for those or not. I was getting them for the committee here tonight. But Mr. Van Edstein took the effort to go and see what it would cost. I only briefly looked at it before I came. It seemed to me it said something about a 3-year warranty on them.
Yeah.
And
It's a standard
you say
warranty.
that about every 3 years we're updating these things?
we have a 4-year life cycle.
4-year?
4-year life cycle. Yes.
So, I mean, if there's problems, but again, I'm the last guy in the world to ask about this sort of thing because I still have a phone that doesn't have ID on it.
Yeah.
You know, that's all.
I
I
agree
got a
with-
Panasonic television in my bedroom that is now about 23 years old and works perfectly yet. But that's a television, so I don't know.
I agree with Chief Lewis that we will continue to test all products before we purchase a fleet of products.
What, could we, Andy?
I got a question for Mike. Mike, I mean, are we stuck with Panasonic? Can't we look at a different company that might be more compatible? I mean,
Yeah, that's why we've switched from Panasonic to Data 911s, and now we're switching to G-Techs.
okay, but the
So it's
Panasonics
tough
we
to
have
just-
right now, are we gonna be
It's a model of a Panasonic.
are we basically breaking away from Panasonic? Because you stated we still have Panasonic.
Yes, we do, because we purchased them and they haven't gone through their total life cycle yet.
Okay, but are we
Yeah.
weeding ourselves off of that?
In certain
Would you
instances,
say?
yes.
Okay.
Maybe in DPW, we'd continue to buy some because they might take them out of the vehicle. They don't have the security that the police needs, but.
No,
they
strictly
might-
with the police department, I mean.
Well, yeah.
And also the connectivity, because everything is so electronic on the police side and their records management
Yeah.
system, whereas people out in sanitary sewer does the work, brings the unit back in and hooks up to our network in an office, whereas police is out, they're always out working on their laptop, right in their computer.
What other companies are we looking at with strictly the police department?
Data 911, which they currently use. and
Okay, is there
G-Tech.
another one?
G-Tech.
Okay,
Mhm. And then we would continue to look at the Tough Book.
But
okay.
I'm sure that there's others, I mean, they're always testing
Mhm.
All right.
products.
Thank you, Mr.
Dawn,
Chairman.
you know, we have to. I guess raise your hand if you got something. Can we have a motion to open the floor?
Motion to open the floor for interested parties.
Second.
Moved and second to open the floor to hear from interested parties. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Okay, Mr. Van Alstyne, would you come forward?
Well, the reason I brought this up, I was on a ride-along, and the officer I was with, his computer shut down on him 3 times the night I was with him. Now, to me, that's officer safety.
Yeah.
He could not even,
Excuse me, if I can have your, obviously your name, but your address, please.
2410 Hampton Avenue. Tried to do citations. The citations wouldn't print out. He had to send them to another officer to print. And then that officer brought them to him to give to the gal that he had stopped. That's wasting officer time
Now, which unit was this?
in 41.
No, I'm just saying, what
Oh.
piece of equipment was this?
That was their, whatever computers in 41, squad 41.
Do we have more than, how many different models do we have in the cars right now?
We have just the Data 911s in most, I should not say just. We have Data 911s in police vehicles, and then we are testing the G-Tech units. And if something is not, did the PC fail, you're saying 3 times?
Yep, it shut completely off on them.
Okay.
So we have, we're presently testing 4 data 911s.
No, we have those currently in our vehicle, and we're testing the G-Tech units.
So we have 4 G-Tech units?
Yeah.
And we presently have the data 911 units?
Correct.
And was this the data 911 unit, or was this the
I
G-Tech?
don't know what was in it. It was
Does
solid
anybody there
mounted.
help us out?
It was probably a data 911. We don't have anything else in our squads other than that.
I thought you had 4 in the CSI.
CSI cars have something different.
Yeah, the G-Tech.
Squads themselves that the officers use are data 911.
Okay, this was in a regular,
Right.
so this was a data 911, and in your ride-along, it conked out 3 times?
3 times on him.
And you're saying you're not experienced this kind of problems? You're saying that this is, up to, as far as you know, this works better than the tough books?
Yeah.
And
Our experience tends to
and
do
the
that.
tough books are just used by the fire department right now?
Yes, but, yes and no. They have tough books, but they also have data 911 units. They use both in different situations. In their vehicles, they have the data 911, but the ones they take out in their inspections or on their emergency calls, those are the tough books.
Well, I guess that we probably need to learn more
Right.
from our staff. Was this just a freak, an odd man
I've-
out type situation that day?
Nope, I've talked to other officers, and they tell me the same thing. It's nothing for them to shut down on them at least once a shift.
Was it, I know the chief is new, but was the department aware of this? Or?
Each one of the computer models have different issues, and I know the Panasonics, we had a whole host of issues with them. Whether or not, they shut down every shift, they have to be restarted, that's possible. Our guys are pretty good at maintaining those. The CPUs were just replaced on them last year, I believe it was last year, Mike?
Correct.
One of the reasons we went to something else other than Panasonic, because of the issues that we had with the connectivity to our network, with the fact that it's a single unit, and if a screen broke, the whole computer's down. Where now the screen in the data 911 model is separate from the CPU. So if the screen goes down, we replace the screen. If the CPU goes down, we replace that. It's not, they're separate pieces, so it's easier for us to switch the parts back and forth and have the guys take them out and work on them. So I can certainly look and talk to the guys from our IT staff. The computer just may shut down because it's set that way.
We've had the data 911s then, are we in the second year of those now?
We're in the second iteration of those.
Second generation,
Yes.
and that's how many years more or less?
4 years each, right, Mike?
4 years for the first.
Is it
And
it's
then
the second time
it's
that
the
we've
second
gone
year
through
and
that?
the second iteration.
So we've had about 6 years for data 911s.
Yeah.
I would expect that the department would rebid the whole package once we get to 2017. We will look at what's out there in technology, and you're talking 2 years, year and a half, the technology's gonna change in that timeframe.
Well, I'm just afraid how much smarter I'm gonna get in 2 years. But anyway, go ahead, Mr. Van Edestein.
Well, I talked to a couple of people, and the only one I could get even pricing on was for the tough books.
Is this, got it.
And nope, there's 3 different,
All right.
he did the top of the line, kind of mid-grade, and a tablet or netbook.
This is all tough books.
Yes.
Okay.
When we had the tough books, did we have the top of the line, the middle, or the third level? You know?
We'll let me see if that's,
Were these things bid, or what was the deal?
they're bid up.
I mean, I guess we'd have to look back at the specs and see what actually because there's quite a difference in price. At least from what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say we had top of the line.
Well, we won't be doing this until 2017 anyway.
That's correct.
And where we would thoroughly research the best solution possible for the citizens in our office.
We're not gonna be adding it. Are we yucking it up back there, Mr. Scannell? Yes. We have a decorum here, please. Was there something you wanted to add?
No, I'm just waiting to listen on the prices.
Would you just go through this? I'm not familiar with it all.
What I did, I don't know, I didn't know how many squads we had. And I talked to a couple,
How many squads do we have?
42 black and whites.
and, well,
I said about
told them-
50, but I didn't know.
Well, I didn't know either, so I told him to, probably 60. And he gave me a price of $3,380 for the top of the line ones. $2,025 for kind of mid-grade. And then the, like iPad type thing was $2,236. And he said he wouldn't recommend anyway, because they would take up more room. You'd have to put extra keyboards and stuff like that into them. And then I have the specs that he sent me for them in the packet.
Okay, so that doesn't include the guarantee?
Yes, the 3-year warranty. And then there's other things that could be added to them.
And you can extend the 3-year for a little more money.
Right.
Mr. Nicholson?
Question. So, question for Chief, or Captain Abel. So when do we start looking at a new system?
Probably mid to 2016, to put it in your budget for 2017.
Okay.
We would bid them out, it would look whatever the new technology might be. I mean, nobody in this room knows what the technology will be a year and a half from now.
I'm just trying to
Yeah.
figure out a time frame.
Probably.
June?
Yeah, June, somewhere on the summer. Most PDs start testing them, and then you check with what other people have. Whatever new might be on the market, who knows?
Okay.
But it would have to be something locked into the vehicle because of the criminal justice information system.
Correct.
It can't be something we can carry around.
What were the problems we had with Panasonic before? I mean, why we switched? What were the issues?
There were a lot of issues with the screens becoming very loose. We ended up buying tension bars to hold them in place.
Okay.
If the screen went out, you take the whole unit out, like I said before. And now, and that car would be down, you'd have to have another one on the shelf.
What would cause that, Captain?
Just normal wear and tear. I mean, we live in an environment where you go from
I know-
extremes of 120 degrees to -40.
Absolutely, I know that, but, I mean, it should be built for that, right?
It's
Or
a piece of
construction.
it's a piece of equipment that can fail.
All
You
right.
get into a generation of where you've had it for 3 years.
Okay.
Was the Tough Book a line at that time? Was that a line of Panasonic?
Yes, we started out
It was
with
called
CF
Tough Book at that time
Right.
too.
CF20.
So it was supposedly built for durability.
Right. So
But
had
we
CF
didn't find it so durable.
Right. So we had CF25 to start. That was the first, I think, 25s or 23s. And then we went up to CF27s.
29s, and these are
28s. And then
31s.
we went to Data 911.
31 and the other one's a 54 or something like that.
And these were bid at that time.
Everything's bid, nothing's sole source.
Right. And they even rebid them from last year as well, I believe.
And Mr. Van is saying, I guess the one thing that piques my interest in most of your presentation here is that your experience was that the equipment broke down 3 times.
Right.
And how long were you there with them?
An 8-hour shift.
You were at the full 8 hours?
Yes.
Boy,
And our last call of the night, the officer that we were backing up wrote citations that had to get sent to the squad that we were in, and we still couldn't print it. because she couldn't print them.
So you had a request from another squad.
Right.
And you couldn't fulfill it. Well, I don't know, I guess we could at least ask the department to look into what problems they're having. If this is just a fluke, this just happened one night or something, that you're basically reliable about, I guess we want to know about those things. I think IT would want to know about it too, so.
Well, and like I said, that was my biggest thing to bring it up, because it shut down on him. And that's his lifeline to everything.
Well, I thank you for your concern and for your efforts to
thank you.
give us some idea what this would cost. I know you did try a couple of different people, and there's only one that would even give you a
That would even, yep.
But we thank you for your efforts and for your concern.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
We'll ask for a little report back from the department about what our experience is. So Mike, if you could maybe look into it a little bit. Okay, so item
Motion to receive,
number
place on
6,
file?
why don't we just ask that we refer this to the staff for report back, at
Oh,
least
okay.
about the part of,
Motion to,
if we're having serious problems
We'll
with
ask the
the...
person for squad 41.
motion to have a report back from staff.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Now we're on item number 7.
Number 5.
No, number 5. Okay, now we get that. Request of the Personnel Committee review finances report, recommendation with possible action on the program for a gang task force, along with the resources necessary for that program.
This was referred back to the common council.
Okay, Chief, did you want to come forward?
I was asked to explore the gang task force issue, and I believe to give you my views on how the council can be of assistance to the police department addressing this issue. At the common council meeting of August 18th, I expressed a concern that my initial staff meetings, there was divided opinion within the police department in regards to what would be the best utilization of these funds. In particular, there was a feeling that if funds are available, they would be better utilized for a street crimes unit that could address a variety of issues. A couple of comments were made at City Council that I'd like to clarify. A comment was made that 13 officers are on the City Gang Task Force. This was stated on a slide, however, it's a typo. Presently, there are 14 patrol officers, 2 detectives, 2 community officers, 1 resource officer, and 2 lieutenants, for a total of 21 officers performing this function as part of their duties, while periodically, depending on demand, being assigned full-time to the function. There was also a comment made that the police report indicated there were 28 gangs. What the report indicated is that since 2009, over the past 7 years, 28 gangs have been identified in Green Bay. Many of these gangs have been operated here for a short time and were merely passing through. Some have been disbanded, and some may have combined. So this was not meant to mislead someone into believing there were 28 active gangs in Green Bay. Since the last meeting, I've continued to meet with staff at all levels of the department, including union board members, management staff, the district attorney, and I also met with the finance director to discuss the expenditure restraint payment program. If an officer is asked a question, would you like to see a gang task force? Often the answer is going to be yes. If an officer is asked, would you like to see a traffic unit? The answer is going to be yes. Street crime unit, same answer. More resource officers, same answer. More detectives, same answer. More patrol officers, same answer. The answers change when you ask them to prioritize one position over the other. At that point, there's less consensus. It becomes even more unclear if the question involves equipment, training, or salary versus new positions. I've taken a look at the crime stats through the July, and the fact is your violent crime is at the lowest it's been in 4 years, and property crime is lowest it's been since 2000. You have had cases like the Olson, in which the suspects claimed to be members of a group called Insane. There's no evidence in this case that this crime was committed at the order of or to further an organized gang enterprise, and thus does not fall into the gang statutes. In discussing this matter with the district attorney, he indicated they are not seeing crimes that fall under the gang statute. However, they do see criminal organizations involved in drug violations that are handled by the county drug task force. He does see value in the gathering of gang intelligence, as it does help in knowing what groups are working together. However, at this point, he believes we were getting excellent information from our existing efforts. There has also been concern raised whether part-time or full-time is better. Under a full-time, four-person unit, you'd have their entire efforts focused on this area. However, they would cover a limited time period, and the key would be their ability to pass information to the entire department. With the 21-person unit being trained in this area, but not assigned full-time, you do not have the same focus of the four-person, full-time team. However, you cover all hours. There's almost always someone available when a gang issue comes up. You cover neighborhoods and schools and have a much deeper group to rely on. Department's management believes because of the changing crime issues, changing areas of town that may be impacted, it's important to keep as much flexibility as possible to respond to issues, and that is the reason the preference is for the large team with the ability to move into special projects full-time when needed. The department does see the partnership with the council as essential in making the community safer, and we appreciate the concern that you've shown. However, I believe at this time, considering there are always limited funds, we are better to improve the effectiveness and efficiency of your existing 192 officers instead of adding 4 to an environment that is not optimal. One issue is filling existing positions. We've made 5 job offers in this past week, so we're down to 2 openings, assuming these 5 candidates pass remaining polygraph, medical, and psychological. We also held a meeting last week attended by the President of the Police and Fire Commission, members of HR, and a dozen members of the Police Department to identify the issues that have created problems with hiring and to revamp our existing system. I believe it's fair to say that everyone left this meeting excited about the changes we're implementing that should broaden our pool of candidates and expedite the process. The following are the issues that come up repeatedly with the various segments of sworn and non-sworn employees that I've talked to, and these issues do not impact your expenditure restraint issues. One is there is a strong desire among employees to move towards body cameras. This will better document many contacts, dispel false accusations, in the case of gang members, give us a better history of our contact with them. Secondly, increased training. Funding to expand our training not only on gangs, but human trafficking, de-escalation of force, and other areas would be invaluable to your employees. Third, replacement of a mobile command post. The existing unit was created in about 1997 during my prior service here. At that time, it was a surplus bus that I believe we received from the Air Force that they were getting rid of as surplus and had been used for years shuttling service members around bases. We put it together with limited funds, and it has served the community for almost 18 years. However, staff indicates the cost to keep it running and its limited capabilities have made it virtually unusable. Fourth, and the last and very expensive item is the building. It has served the city well, but it is structurally showing its age. This past week, we've had 2 large fans blowing 24 hours a day in the basement towards the fire alarm systems to avoid the high humidity from constantly setting off the alarms. We have locations where banners are hung to cover serious cracks in the walls. Employees are very crowded, inefficient working space, and we're running out of storage space and parking space. Though the above issues may not appear to be as proactive as the creation of a gang task force, improving your existing force and making it a more desirable place to work can have a greater impact on all crime issues than a small task force will have. We would truly appreciate the opportunity to team up with the council to address the above 4 issues.
Mr. Chairman, further question? Mr., you had a question, Mr.
Yeah.
Wayne?
Yeah. Chief, on that building, I believe at least 4 times I made a request that I knew that we were blown out by all sides. Chief Molitor was supposed to bring something back, Director Grenier, and for 4 years I keep trying to bring this up, and I brought it up this year, and nothing's been done. And then I hear the mayor make a comment not too long ago, and now yourself. In your knowledge, what's happening with this?
Well, I've been gone 12 years. And during the time I was here was when some of you remember, is when we took the municipal court out of the police department and we bought the building next door and we created a municipal court. That gave us some room and we expanded. And frankly, the building looked pretty good when we did that. But it has just aged terribly over the years. We have to keep more evidence than we used to have. I'm sorry?
We did take the drug task force out.
Yeah, we initially put them they were at the
They were in the
airport,
basement.
and then they were in the basement, now they're someplace else and became county. And now, once they came out of the courthouse, we moved the gymnasium that we used to have downstairs was moved into that municipal court. and we've still, the place is full. Because for one thing, we have to keep a lot of evidence that we never kept in the past. The DNA issues require us to keep evidence virtually as long as the convicted suspect stays in prison. So it's just building
Our building's
exponentially.
not doing its due diligence.
It's just worn. I mean, it was a good building at a time, but it's too small, and it's gonna be an expensive
Well, it's a little bit
project.
separate issue, and I think everybody's willing to talk about that.
Okay. I
And,
just, I
that
heard say.
should be a part of our capital improvements program, and that'd be something we bonded for anyway, if we're gonna build an addition or acquire extra space at some other location. And you probably have a number of different options of how to improve your space problems.
But I think you're running out of options in the building you have now. And I welcome any of you come walk through the building with me. Those tiles falling off, there's literally banners hanging, covering cracks in the wall. There is really no more room in that building. And I think it ties directly to this issue. It ties to recruitment. The recruiters tell you they're embarrassed to walk people through the building. It ties to the morale of your employees. It ties to the efficiency of your employees. I think all four of these items tie to those things. And I think you can improve 192 employees by at least starting this process. I think you have to have somebody come in and figure out what size building do you need? What size footprint do you need? For parking purposes, there is zero security in that parking lot for your fleet. And so, there are experts that are really good at this, and they need to tell you what you need to do, because I couldn't tell you what to bond. I couldn't tell you how many square foot you need. I know you're not gonna be able to work on that building, you're not gonna be able to add another floor. The walls are cracking as it is. You're gonna have to build a new building, and the sooner it starts, the sooner you improve your morale, and the sooner it gets
The
done.
building is one of the needs, would you?
The building-
The other three
The body cameras, I think, are essential.
body cameras?
Milwaukee just purchased 1,800 this week, they announced.
Right.
Appleton has already rolled out theirs. We had the company that both those agencies use.
That's a capital expenditure too.
It is, that's correct. It has nothing to do with your
Okay, so we have buildings, body cameras, I just wanted just to review
training
training.
and the command post.
So you feel like there's not enough training time in our budget?
No, that's what the employees are telling me. It's been reduced over the past few years. There's less and less, and there's more and more issues out there that are complex, such as
Training time,
computer
what was the
crimes,
fourth?
et cetera.
I'm sorry, I didn't write fast.
It was just those four.
But what was the fourth?
Training.
No, the fourth was the command
I've
post.
got
The
command
command-
post.
That white bus used to be a blue Air Force bus, but it's white. You've had it since, I think, 97 or 98, I'm not sure.
Well, okay, so it just strikes me that outside of training, which is something we'd add to our budget, the other things are capital in nature, would be one-time expenditures.
Well,
Well, there might be
No.
some maintenance and things.
the things like the body cameras, it's a constant expense. They're going to be replaced every few years. It's a constant expense.
I didn't understand, but it's something you bond for, but we're looking, I mean, the recommendation from your department, Andy, I'll get you in a second.
Okay, thank you.
Our recommendation from the department was to add 4 people for a gang task force. And we heard some of your comments. Quite frankly, some of the comments you made at the meeting I thought were not correct.
Which ones?
Well, we wanted to get the tape. It wasn't provided to us.
No, the minutes should be at this meeting.
Well,
Are the
they
minutes
sent me
here?
a copy of it, so I would ask you which comment I made was inaccurate.
Are the
There was a
minutes here,
couple-
Dawn?
I believe you received the minutes via email from Chris Teskey about 2 weeks ago.
Okay. I believe I didn't receive it from
Okay.
Chris Teskey.
I'll check in with her. I
So
know
where
that
did she put it?
I mean, Andy had approached me about it, and
Yeah, and I
I
wanted it at the
sent it
meeting.
to Chris Teskey, and, you know,
You know,
she
simple
never said anything
request.
to me about it.
Well,
Did you-
you said I made a false statement. I'm asking you what the false statement was I made.
There were a couple, there were 2 or 3 statements that you made in what you felt that the money could be used for, and a couple of them had already been addressed, but you haven't been here for a long time. So I just wanted to, it's not, again, I'm not casting aspersions or anything else. We've had a committee that has been said to be meddling with the police department, and our only meddling has been to offer more help where we felt there were shortcomings in the system. One was traffic, one was we felt the overall crime. And I guess the one thing I would like from you, because I'd like to know on what basis you make the statements about the crime statistics have been down. Because when people have guns put in their face in convenience stores, just as little as a few days ago, the general public doesn't feel that way. Well, this is only anecdotal of what I'm saying. It's not based in total fact. It's fact, but I don't know how much it means, because it's anecdotal. But I have at least 2 people in my immediate neighborhood who have sold their houses and have stated that they felt the neighborhoods were just not the standard they wanted them to be anymore. And I mean, I'm generalizing what they said. They said stronger things than that. And they sold their houses and moved to, they felt were newer, better areas. And so those things concern me. And so I think that the general consensus of this committee was that we wanted to put more men on the streets, more stomping down on whatever crime was there. And, you know, our position, I think as any logical person, is that the more effort you put at something, the better results you get. If you aren't getting better results, then you got to take a look at what are the guys doing, you know, in their time. But we were offering more help, and we were responding somewhat, yes, to people's outcry in the community to a certain extent. You know, we don't like things just manipulated around. I mean, are you stating here, I don't know if I heard you correctly or not, but are you saying that the 16 apartment unit that was burned down was not gang related?
It was not a gang crime. The 2 people.
Okay, well, gang related and gang crime, there's some official technical definition of gang crime that they use over in the district attorney's office.
That's correct.
And now you're trying, based on that, it doesn't fit when we know 2 gang members were involved in doing it. At least, you know, to me, this is semantics.
Oh, I
Playing
don't
with words.
agree with you, Mr. Zimmer.
And I tell you, I'm one that thinks crime is much worse than it was before. I've lived in this community all my life, unlike yourself. I can remember very clearly, when I was about 18 years old, a gandy dancing gang that was working on railroad, they called them gangs at that time, railroad gangs, that worked on replacing timbers underneath the rail. And they'd come in from Chicago and were living in boxcars, etc. And there was big business in Maribel at the time. And guess what? It was a big front page article that the tavern there was burglarized. That was an idea of a big crime at that time. Now we get to the point, we don't even report burglaries. We just say, give us a report. We send it over to go to your insurance company for whatever it is. So times have changed. And anybody that has 2 eyes in their heads can see that the dynamics of our community have changed a lot. And when I have at least 2 people within a few blocks of my house that tell me that they're getting out while the getting's good, this bothers me because I don't want to get out. I've lived in Green Bay all my life. And I've lived on the near west side most of my life. And I know that there's a lot of good people, but I also know that when good people leave and it's replaced by rental units, etc., and believe me, we've put a lot of effort. I, for one, I mean, we got $1.5 million put back into the bond issue this year, neglected for the last 5 years. Some of the things you said that we need to change the core of our city. It was, you know, to be able to acquire some of the housing that's antiquated, try to replace it with better housing, try to do things to improve the neighborhoods, to make them more stable. I myself have fought to keep the branch library, Southwest Branch Library in our neighborhood. And people, those are things that help people want to stay. I felt terrible 30 years ago when they started taking the neighborhood schools out of the neighborhoods. And I think that was still a big mistake. Those are all things that make good, solid citizens want to stay in an area. And so I think we're making a lot of efforts outside. We're doing everything possible. And the council, and a strong vote, I think it was 8-4 or so, added the $1.5 million to start acquiring some of the undesirable housing that really shouldn't be necessarily just ordered by the inspection department to improve. You heard earlier in this meeting, our inspection department for neighborhood housing has grown very dramatically since 1985 to present. We have a lot of resources that we throw at trying to make the neighborhoods better. And I know I'm just going to speak for myself. Other committee members can say what they want, but I feel that blue line, that the policemen, and the more of them are out, they don't have to always be roughing up people, just knowing people. We have some community policing, all those sorts of things. But I'm talking about policemen that are out there to try to put the foot down on the people who are causing the problems, that have come to our community. We want people coming to our community to know that this is a safe place to live, and that if you got something bad in mind, this isn't going to be a place you want to live. So I feel the more manpower we put at this, the better. And, now I hear some technicalities. You're telling me there's some formula that says we can't put 4 people on the force if we want? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying there's a state law that restrains expenditures. It's been in effect since 1990.
And if
It's
we
not
had
new.
4 people, we would be beyond that law?
If you bust the restraint, you've got a $2 million
Okay,
penalty.
why are you calculating that? We know that we have to do those things.
Why am I doing that?
Well,
I put on a class for my staff. It's my job to teach my staff all about public budgeting. We're supposed to bring you responsible budgets. So yes, I
okay,
put on
but
classes.
we're the policymakers.
And I'm the administrator that trains and
if
mentors
we
my
feel that
people.
we want more workforce on the street to combating crime, that's our prerogative. Now, if we meet some of these budget restraints, we have to deal with it. We might have to say, well, we're going to do it with one less IT person. I'm just picking things out of the air. We have a budget that we have to live within. We have laws in the state of Wisconsin. That you would bring this forward to us is somehow now the reason why we couldn't add 4 people to our force, I find disingenuous at very least. And
Is it inaccurate, Mr. Zimmer?
Yes, because I think it's
well,
irrelevant.
Well,
Because
I think it's
we
accurate.
have to live within our restraints, so we have
That's
to do
correct.
that.
and I have to bring you my best responsible budget, and that's what I've done to you. You're right, you can spend it however you
We
like.
can spend it, we can.
But I'm gonna bring you what's a responsible
If we
budget.
want to.
That's correct, you can do that.
Now, we aren't suggesting that.
Well, I
So,
don't know, you brought it up.
I'm just saying, well, I'm bringing it up because you're sitting here trying to bring some artificial thing before us.
It's a
about
state
our
law,
restraints.
it's not artificial.
You're telling me that the state law prohibits us from adding 4 people to our department?
I'm telling you, you can't break the expenditure.
Those are 2 different things.
Well, not necessarily.
I'm asking you a direct question. Are you saying that
I'm
this
telling
law
you,
would
I'm
prevent us from
bringing you-
adding 4 people?
It would prevent you if you break the restraint, that it has to be something that's considered. I could bring you a budget and say I want 50 officers, it would be irresponsible for me to do that.
Well, your predecessor, who was a little bit hard-nosed on this, came forward with asking for 4 people. His department had it for 4.
He was directed to do that. He did not
Directed
do
to
that
do that by who?
voluntarily. This committee requested he bring forward a task force. He didn't bring that forward on his own. We've discussed the issue.
Well, you're twisting things around.
I don't
now.
think so.
And I know you're between a rock and a hard place. You're here on a relatively short-term basis, and you're on a contract basis. You've been selected by the mayor and the police and fire commission to do this job, and maybe you don't think that our opinion is worth anything.
I didn't say it, Mr. Zimmer.
Well, then it's time to start listening to us. And if we think that something needs to be done, we expect that you put efforts in those areas. I'm not sitting here to try to be combative. I'm reacting from my 40 years of experience and my lifelong living in Green Bay and the changes I've seen in Green Bay. And if you want to come here from some technical point of view and on a matter which is, I think, not that great a matter for 4 people, because I was thinking of much more than 4. That 4 people would somehow, that you're going to say budget restraints are going to prevent us from doing this. I find that disingenuous. That you would remind us that, well, we got to look to that, and of course, we will pay attention to it. But I don't, do you have that in writing from our finance department? Would this bust the piggy bank?
I'll let them respond.
Because we feel the mayor doesn't want to change anything. He's been resistant to changes we've tried to make with traffic, now with the gang task force, and quite frankly, I see you as just sort of an interim hired gun. No pun intended. And I beg to differ, and I'd like to see where your crime statistics come from. I'd like them evaluated. Because if there's one thing I've learned in my life is that anybody can create a set of statistics to say anything they want to say. And you say it's down, well, was it much higher before, and it's down from what it was before, but it's still higher than it was 5 years ago? There's so many different things. I'd like to see where you get your information.
Out of the FBI reported crime statistics, you can look them up on the computer this evening.
Have they changed how they look at them? Has there been changes?
I don't know what you mean by hasn't been changes. We've been reporting crimes to FBI for years.
I'm just.
Now, if you think they're inaccurate, then you can have somebody audit them.
But, maybe if 4 people are arrested for the same, in the same crime, well, is it 4 crimes or 1 crime? And people collect statistics in different ways from different times. And I can only act anecdotally, but I think it's worth something. I think the experience of my life in living in Green Bay is worth something. And I definitely think that Green Bay has gone downhill. You can say crime has gone down. Nobody else agrees with that. I don't want to say nobody, but a lot of people don't agree with it. And we are, I heard some of the things you felt the community should be doing. Those things all cost money too. And we are doing most of what you said. That's what I wanted to get the tape. I wanted to listen to it because a lot of what you said, we're already doing. It's already in the cards. We're trying to better the community. At least I am. I've been on my high horse here on this subject for prior to you coming here. And majority, if not the unanimous consent of this committee was to move forward with this. Then you come here with some, we budget restraints. We're going to violate budget restraints. I find that, quite frankly, like I said, this is the 3rd time I'm saying it, disingenuous. I'm going to get off my high horse and leave it to the rest of the committee. And I just find it unbecoming of the previous contract chief and now the new one who's just barely on board, coming here on a confrontational basis, trying to somehow put the blocks to a simple thing of adding 4 people to the force. If you'd say, we don't need them for a gang task force, but we could certainly use them because we want to use them better someplace else, I'd listen to all that. I don't have a problem with that. But I tell you, in my 40 years experience, I have never been in the position where a department head was turning down help. In fact, it's usually the other way around. And it's usually us having to do the slicing and trying to find, whether this really could fit into our budget and whether it's something we really want or not. It's usually the other way around. And quite frankly, this business of your predecessor saying that he was quitting because there was meddling by our department. Meddling? We're trying to add help to a department. And if it would cause some budgetary problems, well, our finance department would talk to us and we have to deal with that. And we have to decide whether we really want to do it or not based on those pieces of information. That information was never brought before. This is a new invention, maybe true, that you brought forward, but it's not satisfactory to me. Okay, is there anybody else who has a question?
I think Andy had his hand raised.
Andy, did you?
Does anybody else want to? Well, Chief, with these four bullet points that you have, is that that's going to be expensive also.
Oh, it's absolutely expensive, but it doesn't impact your expenditure restraint.
Okay, that was one of the questions.
These are capital things.
Okay, I guess how I look at it, before you were here, Chief, Molitor cooperative. He wasn't basically diffusing the issues, stating that we need a new building, body armor, training, command post. He didn't even bring that forward. He and his staff brought forward a presentation and a plan how to deal with gang activity in the city of Green Bay. And they identified that we do have a problem. Now, are you stating that we don't have a gang problem in city of Green Bay?
I'm stating that the report you have doesn't hit on crimes involving gangs. There's no crime numbers in there. There's no measurables in there. The plan that you were presented doesn't comply with our contract. We couldn't implement it if you gave me the 4 officers right now.
Okay.
There's issues that have to be addressed that are flawed in that plan. What I'm saying to you is you have 192 cops. I believe, you don't have to agree with me, but from my 45 years of experience, I think you're better to make them more efficient and more effective, and you will get more bang for your buck by doing that. And they believe they need cameras, they believe they need the new tasers, they believe they need the smartphones so they spend less time in the station, more time out. They believe they need a more efficient workspace, and that we want to work with you. I know this, you think I'm being confrontational. I'm telling you, I think you can get more bang for your buck by half the money you're talking about spending on those officers. You can make your yearly payments on 144 cameras, the storage space in the cloud, the smartphones, so when they take photos, they go straight up, so the licenses, so the DA's office could look at that, and we wouldn't have to keep making tapes and running them back and forth. And I'm telling you, I'm trying to show you a way you can make your 192 employees more efficient for half the money you're talking about spending on 4 positions. Then things like the building, it is a big chunk. But if you're still here 10 years from now talking about that building, you're going to have much bigger issues. So I'm trying to lay out to you what I think, and I'll be gone in 6 or 8 weeks. You don't have to listen to anything I tell you, but you're paying me a decent salary to give you my best take on it, and that's my best take. And I've been sitting down with your employees. I sat down with 3 lieutenants today. I've been going through shift briefings. I've been asking what they want, what works for them, and I'm giving you my best advice.
I understand that, Chief. Thank you very much. Your bullet points, well taken, but you don't believe we need more officers, 4 more officers on the street? I mean, okay, it's important. Your bullet points are important, well taken. I want to move forward. I believe in your presentation or your speech, you stated instead of gang task force, a street crime unit. Well, to me, it doesn't matter. You call it potatoes, I call it potatoes. You call it street crime, I'll call it gang, it doesn't matter. The important issue that I feel is adding 4 more officers to the city of Green Bay's police department. How do you feel about that?
It's again like the comment I made about the officers. If you ask them if they want that unit, they'll say yes. But if you ask them, but we have to give up, because that's the discussion. If you have to cut someplace else, before I can tell you whether that's the best use, in my opinion, of that money, I got to know where it's coming out of. If it's coming out of the PD, whether it's equipment, patrol officers on the street, wherever it might be, I can't answer. If you ask me, money's unlimited, I want to give you 4, fine. But I don't know where the 4, what is going to pay for those 4. And I think it is your decision, as Mr. Zimmer said to me.
We'll deal with that.
But it's
correct?
my decision.
You couldn't utilize 4 more people.
Oh, I could put 4 more guys out writing tickets tomorrow, and they'll write tickets. But the question is, where is the money coming from to pay those? Is it going to go out of a pot that I think is more valuable than your pot you're taking it for?
Well,
and I don't know.
Just so
Chief,
you
I
know,
guess
there were
we're-
6 or 7 of your, a good, strong handful, 6 to 8 people were in the back of this room who were more senior officers. They were not rookies or anything. And in the hallway outside, I said, what do you really need? And they said, well, it's the mayor. Could we get 12 at least? And I said, well, we make the decision, not the mayor in the end. It's the council that puts the money in now. Maybe that would really bust the bank. I'm not here to say it, but that's what your people who were interested enough to come here, and they weren't anybody that I knew. I didn't know a single soul of them. They're nobody that I invited here. And The only one I know is this gentleman right here. And
He's always
he's
smiling.
moved up the ladder for a long time. He helped us out tremendously over in the county, by the way, too. And we have high respect for him. But that was the sense there. In other words, the guy in the street, they know what's out there, and hey, there's only so much time in a day. I as an alderman, got to take calls, and there isn't a night I don't get home that I don't say to myself, God, there's 3 things I didn't get done yet today, and of course I try to do them the next morning. You know, my life is busier than hell. And I can imagine what a police officer's job, and they're dealing, they don't know quite who's done it and who's bad, they have suspicions and all this. Their job is a terrifically difficult one, but it's them that stand between the criminals and the community. And the more of those that are out there helping us, the less of those people who think that Green Bay is an easy mark to do business in will be coming. That's my guts on it.
Zima, I mean, I didn't, you took the floor away from me.
I'm
I
sorry.
still had some questions. Is that
Yeah,
okay, Tom? Chief, I don't believe the city of Green Bay had an apartment complex burned down to the ground, and it was identified as gang activity. Now, if the DA wants to charge it with gang-related charges, that's his prerogative. He might not have enough evidence, but it's there. The proof's in the pudding, it's there, it's identified. He's got to prove it. Maybe he will charge, maybe he won't. I don't know what he's going to do. Maybe he doesn't have enough evidence, but it is there, Chief. There's been shootings since you've been here that was related to the west side, drugs, it was identified by gangs, to the east side. Preble had their issues, that was identified. I believe I stated when Chief Mahler was here, I can't remember how many calls that were identified as gang activity. I don't know about gang crimes, that's got to be proven, and that's got to be basically in the court system. But the line officers brought this to my attention months ago. I talked to staff, your management, and both sides were on board. That's why we got the ball rolling. Now, Chief, you're coming as, another 4 weeks, 8 weeks, roughly, that you have left with Green Bay PD. I feel that, I know you could use more officers. I know you can. Now, how you utilize them is up to you, Chief. We're asking for quality time, full time, if you want to call it street crimes unit or or task force, whatever. But they're basically working 8, 10, 12 hours on one issue alone. You can utilize them, putting them on the force, they can go call the call. That's not utilizing what we're trying to ask for. And that's all we're doing, Chief. This is what we're asking for. This was approached by the line officers and basically confirmed by your staff that you inherited when you became chief. So that's why we're having these discussions. We need officers. They're identified 4 more officers with quality time strictly on street crime unit or whatever you want to call it, Chief. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I had gunshots over the last weekend, just on the edge of my district, just outside of my district, 1 block outside of my district. You don't think this concerns people?
I never said that, Mr. Zimmer.
I'll tell you, I grew up when we never heard a gunshot. Supposed to come to a gunshot was some kid with a pellet gun shooting a chipmunk. Very rarely did we have a serious crime. Now, the city was a little smaller, not that much smaller. And there is just a lot of activity. People are, convenience stores are being robbed at gunpoint. That's just 10 days ago. This is something like was unheard of when I grew up. Unheard of. You wouldn't have it in a year, let alone 4, 5, 6 times a year. But they finally caught some guy who was robbing a number of them over on the east side.
I'm good.
This is a year or 2 ago.
Yep.
But anyway, these are the sorts of things that make people say, I talk to people say, today I talked to somebody I thought was in my district, isn't in my district, no, we're in Howard, we're much happier. People don't feel as safe as they used to. And it's more than anecdotal. That is the way Green Bay is getting a reputation for that. And we want to turn that around. Increase, better the housing, get the rat's nest out of the community. All we're saying is, another piece, we want, I'm not even happy with 4 people, but at least 4, anything to help this situation. And we would think that the police department would rally behind those kind of thoughts and give us what we need to make this a really safe community again. And you gotta drive the people that come here to take advantage of our community out of here. We gotta make sure that people wanna live here. Half our officers don't wanna live here. How many of them live out of the city? I mean, I was always for the residency requirement, because I felt, hey, you got 1,000 employees, that's 1,000 employees that are paid a decent wage, and I know they're gonna keep up their houses and everything else. That helps keep up our stock, people that are committed to the community. Why are people moving out of the community? Why don't they wanna live in Green Bay anymore? And I know these are all anecdotal in nature, but as Andy said, the proof is in the pudding, that's what's happening. Okay, Tom?
Yeah, thank you, Chief. The problem I have with the whole thing is, and I listened to you since you come back, it always seems to be related to what when you're bringing to them, what would you rather have? Because if you get 4 officers, we're gonna take something away from you, or you stand a chance losing something. I don't understand why you would even conduct a question and answer in that way when you know we're trying to add to your force. No one ever made a statement saying, but we're gonna take something away from you. If you look at police and fire, there are number 2, there are 1 and 2. There are top, there's not one that's 1, and there's not one that's 2. There are top 2 priorities. And this goes back to Chief Molitor too. I can never understand. I live on the east side, and Captain Abel knows where I live, where we never had a problem. I get people coming to my door, I get people, because I'm so close to Andy, they're asking me, what's going on in Green Bay here? What happened here? Why are so many officers up here? And it's on a constant basis. My grandkids gotta go by, and they come to my house, and there's officers with guns outside. I mean, those are little things that they're seeing. And to say that, I got all the crime reports back from our linemen, and we have high violent crimes in Green Bay. To this day, we still do. So to say that we're the lowest in 4 years is not true. It all depends on how you document them. I've asked people that work in certain departments, and they said, well, if it's this kind of crime, we're told to put it in this, and vice versa. So who knows what it really is? But to say that this council can add the point, I think what's burning inside me is, it seems like between you and Chief Molitor, you don't want to work with it, because you're fighting it so hard. Now, I know you said you talked to the lieutenants and captains, and I say this in every department. You ever talk to the people in alignment? Why are you looking at equipment without talking to the people that do the job and say, listen, we don't need this equipment, this is what we really need. And that happens every year. Those are the people you talk to. I can tell you the morale has never been lower. Those are the things you should be addressing and find out why. I know you only got 8 weeks or whatever it is, but it might even be longer. Maybe they won't find somebody, you gotta go longer. But we have some very good people I know that applied, so hopefully we don't have to go that way. But to me, it seems like you're just fighting it, you don't want it. Because you talk to the people that work in the streets, they do see it. They do. They're telling you that we need it. And then it's all this democracy, well, you might lose this and this and this. Okay, I'm going to give you a list. What would you prefer? Because you're going to lose one of them if we don't do it. No, we never said that. It shouldn't even be brought up in conversation. We don't want to take away from the police department. I've been trying to get a new building for I don't know how long. All this other stuff. Police department comes to us, we hear from them, we know. We're not only hearing from our constituents, but we're hearing from the department too, the linemen. They're telling us. But are they going to come forward? The first thing they say, well, if I come forward, all hell's going to break loose and I'll be where I am the rest of my life. And I never
One of
heard
your
that.
offers said something to me
Well,
that I met accidentally
can I finish?
in the last 2 days. I just want to back up what you're saying. This is off the record, you didn't hear it from me. And that's the way it is. You're not interested in what the guys down at the bottom say. If they say anything contradictory to what the upper staff says, they feel their jobs are in jeopardy. And that's about what it aligns to. We had discussions about, we felt sergeants should come back. Put more people on the line, but I guess, administration feels they don't have as much control with that. But the unions are controlling things. I don't know. We're trying to do our best here. And that we have to argue with such passion about something that should be, heart and soul. I mean, man, I wish Hannity'd come here and take a roll of this meeting and listen to you and Maunder talking about how we don't really need men. We need to do other things in our community. And like those are the things that you would mention. And I said, we're doing a lot of those things already. Of course, we could beef them up, everything else. We're not opposed to any of the things you said. Anyway, it's just, this would be, you talk about laughingstock. When the chief of police says he doesn't want more men that are offered up to him because there's better ways to do things. Holy Christmas, he'd rather expand the building than get some more help out there. The gunshots are going off in the city. People are being robbed. People are moving out of this community. Most of your officers don't even live in the community. That should tell you something. If this was a great community to live in, they'd want to live here. And everybody'd want to live here. But it's getting more and more difficult. I'm going to do everything I can. I fought like hell to get some money in there for the housing. I'm fighting like hell to get this here. Whatever I can do to get this. Whatever's needed. I want to try to do it to preserve our older neighborhoods. Because that's where, the strength of your inner neighborhoods is the strength of your whole city. You got to have good people living there. I know we're making efforts here on the east side with apartment units and stuff like that. We're trying to, with this $1.5 million, and I hope it's for another 3, 4, 5 years, we help clean up the rest of the neighborhoods here too. Because the stronger the neighborhoods are, the less problems you will have in the long run.
Alderman Dwayne had the floor. Could he finish?
No, I'm good.
I'm going to excuse myself. I've got another commitment here. But you'll take over, Randy. I think we've...
Am I vice chair?
Nice.
Okay.
My words don't need to be heard anymore because they've been said about 20 times.
If I may, Alderman Zima, your coat.
You want your jacket?
Oh, yeah.
Put it on, Tom.
Thanks very much.
Well, Tom, do you have the floor?
No, I don't even know
Under the
where it
finance.
was.
All right, so, Mr. Slotnick, Alderman Slotnick, you have the floor.
I was just going to say, I listened to your remarks earlier.
I don't need any
and I
baloney.
appreciate you going
No
out
baloney.
and
There's no
talking
baloney.
broadly to the people
Well,
in
it
your
doesn't
department about
necessarily
this.
do with this issue.
What,
You're gonna have to make hard
Excuse me,
decisions.
Alderman Slotnick.
Well, we'll make them.
Yep.
We're good at that.
All right,
So
Alderman
I
Slotnick.
appreciate you going out and talking to the people and trying to get a handle on, where people think the priorities really are. And I like your approach of saying, if we're gonna spend additional money, where's the best place to spend it first? So I want to encourage you to bring us the best budget you can propose. One that'll make the city safer, but I appreciate you thinking comprehensively about this whole topic.
Anything else, Alderman Slotnick? Alderman Dwayne.
Nothing-
No, I agree. I liked all the points he brought and everything forward, Tom. I think it's wonderful. I think it's great. But the people, from what I understand, it's lieutenants and captains. When you run any kind of business, I know I worked for UPS and retired from there. They never once brought in this young guy or any supervisor and say, listen, how do you want to do this? No. They brought us in an hour early and say, listen, we got to do something. We're moving into this area. We're making some changes. What's the best way to go about it? Never once. I know you worked at Procter & Gamble. I know this gentleman, Ron Tom, who passed away recently. He said, more times than not, he's been there a long time. I don't know if he was there longer than you or not, because I'll just refer to this because that's what happened. You went to your people that knew what they were doing and what kind of suggestions you had. Whether you liked them or not, you didn't always take them. But those are the people you got to talk to. They're the ones that are going to get you to where you need to go. And so in reference to what you said, I do. I respect the police police department so much, but I just feel our constituents are telling us what's going on, why aren't we getting more help? Well, and then they hear this, that you got chief quitting because we're trying to force them to put more men on. We're not trying to force anything. It's, our constituents are saying it, and the people in your force are saying it. And that's why I'm fighting so hard, so thank you.
Anybody else? Any concerns? Anything else, chief?
One more.
Alderman Slotnick, yes, you have the floor.
You know, to try and make sure that all sides are represented here, there has been what I consider to be some meddling efforts on the part of members of this committee. And I understand, I heard the stuff that we're trying to give more resources, that we're telling people the door is open, we're willing to spend more money, if there's ways you can put that to good use. But I also think that we've been very prescriptive, you know, this is the solution, don't tell us any other solution. And I think the previous chief felt he did have to come back with what was being prescribed to him. And I've heard proposals to redesign the way the department is designed from a standpoint of supervision. Though that, I understand why people believe that to be meddling, and I don't think the committee should do it.
Okay, we're talking about the gang task force.
Correct.
I don't think we're talking about what meddling. I don't see meddling on the agenda.
I was
So-
responding to what the chair, an item that the chair got on the conversation.
Right, Alderman Slotnick, do you have anything else? And please just
Nothing
stay to
more.
the issue. Thank you. If there's no other concerns or questions, or I'll entertain a
You
motion.
know, I just want to make a point. I'm not,
Alderman Dwayne.
whether he wants to add it to his crime unit, it's the same thing, gang unit, crime unit.
Right.
They're going after those people, Tom. And that's always been my point, not trying to tell them what, I never once tell them what to try to do with it. And it was never my communication. So I just, my people want to see, you know, want to know they're being well looked after. And I see it all the time. I know some, you know, other aldermen live in decent areas, but I know it's getting worse in my area. And
Okay.
maybe because I got 3 schools around me, I don't know. Maybe that could be it. And times are changing, but I know the drugs are coming in.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to receive and place on file.
I am not going to recognize that motion. I'll recognize another motion.
Make a motion to approve 4 new officers into the police department.
And move it to the Joint Finance Committee for, is that going to be in September or October? Dawn? October?
Okay.
Is there a second? I'll second it. We're under discussion. Under discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nays?
No.
It's confirmed 2-1. Moving on.
I think that's it.
Is that it?
I hope so.
Number
Actually,
7, thank you.
there's-
Report of the Finance Director. Dawn, you have the floor.
Thank you. Some of the points that were brought up earlier today, information is just starting to come out from the Department of Revenue as to what the constraints, what may look like for the city of Green Bay. So I just wanted, I made some bullet points. There is an article, if you could please pass.
Oh, there's one.
Yeah.
I was,
I was in a conference call this afternoon, because I didn't want to put this out before, you know, I had a chance to talk to League of Municipalities along with other finance directors around the state of Wisconsin to see what they're seeing as well. But just some highlights as to the 2015-2017 budget on the municipalities. There hasn't been any changes really to the funding of shared revenue, expenditure restraint, exempt computer aids, or municipal fees. And that, except for there's a bill that's being presented on hopefully funding more dollars towards municipal fees for services, which are dollars that the state of Wisconsin gives us to cover, like the UW system buildings, as well as the state of Wisconsin across the street. This accounts for about $19.6 million of funding from the state. There's going to be a slight increase in funding for Department of Transportation. Those dollars have not been used yet by the Department of Transportation, so once they are, I'll certainly share those with you. And then there was a $4 million cut temporarily in 2016 to our recycling grants, we'll see a cut of about $87,000 in that respect. Two of the city's restraints, and one of them that we do have lived by, is the expenditure restraint, to Chief Lewis's point. And how you qualify is that your mill rate must be over $5, as the city's is $8.85, so we do qualify. But what I'm seeing for the calculation on CPI is, I don't want to say is shocking, but we're only seeing a 0.4% increase on CPI. It's a rolling average that they use from October 1st through September 30th. This number is a rolling average, and then they use 60% of our net new construction. Net new for the city is 0.9%. So this could really be the limiting factor. Those combined put this about, maybe we'd be able to increase our expenses about $750,000. This only looks at the expense side of the city's budget. And for the general fund only, which covers police, fire, administration, DPW, park. So I can see that this is certainly going to make some of those decisions hard that we were speaking of earlier. The city has consistently qualified, and this program, as just flipping it over, it focuses on general expenses, only general fund expenses, and it's all or nothing. If we go over the amount of money that they allow us, we will lose about $1.7 million in funding in 2017. So I just wanted you to be aware of that one. On the levy limit side, that looks at the entire levy that the city puts out, including debt service, transit, general fund, work comp, sick pay escrow, so all of our levies. That levy we would have a limit of going up to about $2.1 million. So obviously that one's much freer. And just some other things that were in the budget were there's some room tax changes that will require some additional reporting to the Department of Revenue. They have prohibited municipalities from enforcing code compliance and other ordinances at the time a real estate is sold. And that really affects us at the point of, like, we can't do the clear water inspections and require them to hook up to stormwater. There's going to be some changes to the tax bills. We have received a waiver because of the timing of when these were passed that will require additional information of the impact of any referendums from taxing jurisdictions. And the prevailing wage law was repealed effective January 1st of 2017. So that just highlights, again, there's a full article in the September 2015 municipality, but I just wanted this to be out there. So when we're speaking about expenditure restraint, this number could change. It's a rolling number. It increased just about $14,000. When I calculated this through the end of June, our value was $731,000. Right now, we're at $747,000. Would be our restraint on the expense side. So I just wanted you to be aware there will be some tough decisions that will have to be made with this next budget.
Thank you. I read the article in the municipality, and you provided how it impacts Green Bay specifically. I appreciate that.
Anything else, Don?
That will be all.
Any questions or concerns?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Motion to receive and place on file by Dwayne, second by Slotnick, under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, motion carried.
Move to adjourn.
Motion by Dwayne to adjourn, second by Slotnick, under discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, we're adjourned.
Thomas? Yeah, you're going, I should have snuck over for a guy. Well, I didn't know. Oh, he doesn't like to speak or no?
Guy?
Yeah. Bullshit.
They just happen to be just like Scott. For me, and I didn't get you anything.
No, that's okay.
Take care, buddy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you turn that off? Did you turn that off already? Do you want to just hit the screen and see what it does?
Anything, Dwayne?
Yeah.